Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at the headlines. Constitutional reform on consultations take place in the capital city. Farmers in Sangre Grande get set to work with the Ministry of Food Production and its agencies. And AmCham calls on local businesses to improve the business landscape. In our top story, Legal Affairs Minister Prakash Ramada says the issue of constitutional reform has plagued Trinidad and Tobago for many years. He says the People's Partnership government came on its promise listed in its manifesto of constitutional reform, proportional representation and referendum. He says the government intended to fulfill that promise.
When we decided that the constitution that we want should come from the people, there were many skeptics who believed that we should have had a draft and put it on. And we said no, that our people truly understand the problems of the nation and what are the solutions to it.
A very fruitful consultation is how Minister Ramadar Singh describes it. Speaking at the constitutional reform meeting at the Capital Plaza Hotel, he says the meeting proved that the people know what they want and what constitutions can be made.
Remembering, as somebody said earlier today, that this really is historic. You are now part of the history of Trinidad and Tobago, because the new constitution which we shall create out of these consultations really will reflect itself not just in this generation, but generations yet unborn.
He says this is all about the people's future.
Today in Port of Spain, we saw the largest turnout so far and very heated discussions. We have issues of gay rights, the issue of retaining God in our present constitution and in the future constitution, the issue of separation of church from the state. So it's been, extremely exciting for us as commissioners.
He says this is the reason why he did not prepare a draft constitution and simply put it out for comment and consultation. The Honourable Minister underscores that the constitution was really a contract between the people and those that were given the authority to govern.
Together with gay rights, together with the issue of the election of a president by the people, the issue of proportional representation, by far that has been the most popular call.
Minister Ramadar Singh says he believes that the people of Trinidad and Tobago should say what kind of constitution they want, and forums such as these were ideal for mustering the contribution of every citizen. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Farmers in Sangre Grande are now in a better position to have the Ministry of Food Production and its agencies work with them. This as the Farmers Outreach Program provided both a forum and access to services that are relevant to them.
The Ministry of Food Production moved into Sangre Grande recently for the Farmers Outreach Program. There, residents wasted no time in bringing to light the many challenges they face on a daily basis while carrying out their various agricultural activities. Prevalent among these issues were predial larceny, land tenures, and repairs to access roads. With regards to predial larceny, Minister of Food Production, the Honourable Devan Maharaj, says the Cabinet recently approved a measure to treat with this issue.
The Cabinet approved last week the establishment of a predial larceny squad. As you know, in 2000 there was the proclamation of the Predial Larceny Prevention Act of 2000. We have for the first time approved by Cabinet the establishment of such a squad with collaboration with the Ministry of National Security. We're in the process of recruiting over 100 to 200 officers, which will be deployed throughout Trinidad and in the various what they consider hotspots in the farming community, those areas in the farming community that are most affected with predial larceny in the first instance, and as the squad get bigger, it will go to other areas. And of course, with this new defense bill, hopefully we'll be able to draw on the strength of the armed forces to go along with the predial larceny officers to reach more areas and address predial larceny.
Minister Maharaj explained that under the former administration, thousands of land leases were not renewed, with only one being renewed in 2008. He assured that his ministry was working assiduously to correct this issue.
The process of leases is one which is very involved. The Commissioner of State Land has to prepare certain documents. It comes to the ministry. It then goes to Cabinet. When Cabinet approves it, it then goes to the Chief Solicitor Office. And each step of the way takes time. 7,000 leases don't have 7,000 officers in the public service looking at each lease. So the ministry, Commissioner of State Land prepares 3 leases a day. The ministry could look at 1 lease a day. The Chief Solicitor Office, I don't know how much they look at a day, but there will always be a backlog. But we are trying as much as possible to clear up the backlog. But I can tell you, in the next 2 years, we have targeted to try and treat it as much as possible. We have retained the services of Price Waterhouse last year, and they have given us a model which we are trying to look at to see how quickly we could implement it to try and process as many leases as possible so people could use their leases for collateral and so on.
The Farmers Outreach Program was launched with the intention to bring the services of the ministry and its agencies closer to those who require them. At the formal program in each area, a forum feature has been embarked upon to allow the farmers to raise their concerns, which the minister and his staff will treat with. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
After the break, a call to improve the business landscape of the country. Stay with us. Welcome back. The American Chamber of Trinidad and Tobago's 20th Annual General Meeting took place on Wednesday, where a call to action was made for member companies and stakeholders to work toward improving the business landscape of Trinidad and Tobago.
Trinidad and Tobago should assume the leadership role in CARICOM and position itself as the pathway to the Americas. This is the view of the American Chamber of Commerce of Trinidad and Tobago. AmCham TNT's director, Mr. Hugh Howard, believes there are multiple conditions that must be satisfied in order to achieve this.
As Trinidad and Tobago continues along an aggressive path to engage Latin America and grow our exports, we need to ensure that we can handle the increased shipments, improve our efficiency, the clearance process, the quality of trade and transport-related infrastructure, as well as the ability to track and trace.
He says once there is a coordination of efforts, willingness for change, and the understanding of the importance and the benefits of proper change, this can be done. Mr. Howard was speaking at AmCham TNT's 20th Annual General Meeting held at the Hilton Trinidad and Conference Center. Also addressing the attendees was Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment, Senator the Honorable Basant Barath. The Honorable Minister states that in 2 weeks' time, he will be piloting the Customs Amendment Act that will merge the Asikuda system and the single electronic window.
Currently, the process is very cumbersome. Currently, the process is that a customs broker inputs his information into the Asikuda system, waits for the information to come back, and then has to physically take the information and go to 5 different agencies separately to get each of these agencies to sign off and to certify those documents. He has to go to the Ministry of Trade, he has to go to the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards, he has to go to the Chemistry, Food and Drug Division, he has to go to plant quarantine, and he has to go to animal quarantine. Then he comes back to customs. A process that can take 5, 7, 8 days. The process will now be, as it enters into the Asikuda system, it's simultaneously shared across all of those platforms. The customs broker sits in his office, behind his desk. Each of the agencies certifies it, sends it back electronically. He receives it within minutes. He takes it to the port and he clears his goods.
AmCham seeks to increase business opportunities for its members and to stimulate free and fair trade among Trinidad and Tobago, the Americas, and the wider Caribbean. The business organization represents 300 private sector companies, 25% multinational and 75% national. AmCham's member companies represent over 90% of the foreign direct investment into Trinidad and Tobago, and the organization has, in its 20-year history, become the de facto preferred point of private sector representation for local, U.S. and multinational companies.
So we have a lot to look forward to. We've just got to get the mix right. We've got to roll up our sleeves and understand that all of us has a part to play. We know that we have some hurdles to overcome. We all know what those hurdles are. But we've got, if we are to be successful, we've got to make sure that we create that enabling environment, as I said when I started, to ensure that the private sector unlocks both foreign funds and local funds and puts it into the local economy.
Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Meanwhile, a number of events have been taking place that are expected to foster a better appreciation for Indian culture among locals. This was revealed by the Indian High Commissioner to Trinidad and Tobago.
As part of Swami Vivekananda's 150th birth anniversary, the Indian High Commission to Trinidad and Tobago has planned a year of significant events. On Saturday, the Haven of Hope Children's Home in Penal was the center of charity, as a number of essential items were donated by the High Commission. Haven of Hope caters to youths that are at risk of abuse, neglect and abandonment. Indian High Commissioner His Excellency Malim Mishra praised the caretakers for their work and agreed to partner with the home going forward.
Swami Vivekananda, the great global personality that he was, reposed a lot of faith in the youth, and that was simply because he felt that the youth could give a shape to the future society. And here also I know that the government is trying its best to bring up the youth right from the infancy, like you are doing, Mrs. Bhagwan Das, and what a wonderful work that you are doing, a wonderful contribution to the society that you are making in rearing. Even if there are 12, 13, 15, doesn't matter, the numbers don't matter. It is the interest of yours and the dedication of yours and the children who we are rearing here in this heaven. And so from our side, we stand with you, whatever we can do. We have found some place where we feel so cozy, and we feel those vibrations here very homely.
Students of the Azra Girls High School accompanied members of the High Commission's youth group as they spent the day with the children of the home, all in an effort to extend charity. High Commissioner Mishra extended an invitation to the children of the home to visit the High Commission for future activities.
We would like to engage your children, and I have already told my colleague that we have a very nice library also in the High Commission, and we have plenty of books for children. And not only we shall give you the books, some of the books we'll donate to your library, but we will invite you along with your brigade of children to visit us. And if possible, whatever day you visit us, doesn't matter. We can open a library at any day, any time for you.
Haven of Hope has accommodations for 20 children with a current head count of 13 under the age of 7. The caretakers expect to construct a larger facility in the future that can accommodate more youths and provide greater comfort for those already at the non-profit institution. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Up next, sports with Wayne Cunningham. Stay with us. The Fast 5 Divisional Series makes for some exciting netball action. The games are divided into 4 6-minute quarters with 3 designated shooting zones where players can garner 1, 2 or 3 points depending on their position on the court. That tournament was contested this weekend in the Premiership and Championship divisions of the All Sectors Netball League. And here's Wayne Cunningham with the results.
In the Championship division of the All Sectors Netball League Fast 5 contest, Police Open versus Fire in a marquee matchup, which saw the Law Women winning by a 33-29 margin. They then faced Bermudas in the semi-finals after the Biscuit Ladies got past Jablote in their opener. In the semis, Bermudas took Police down to the wire, but it was Police advancing to the final by the 24-23 margin. On the other side of the draw, UE moved on to the Final Four following an 18-16 win over Jablote. There they met the Defence Force, who got past Police 20-17. That semi-final was a low-scoring affair, with the University Ladies winning by 10 goals to 9. They saved their energy for the final, romping past Police to take the Championship Division Fast 5 title with a 17-12 win. In the Premiership Division, UTT went into the competition as clear favourites, as they boasted a lineup which included some 5 national players. They easily got past Police 31-25 in their semi-final. Playing for a chance to meet them in the final were Defence Force and Fire, who also had some top-class players of their own. In that one, it was all Defence Force, as the military outplayed Fire to come away with a 23-16 victory, which took them to the final. In that match, they pulled off a mini upset in grand style by beating pre-tournament favourites UTT by a 23-19 margin to take the Premiership Fast 5 trophy. Action in the All Sectors Netball League comes to a climax on Saturday with the final matches in the Steve Sargent Challenge as well as the GNPN Knockout being contested at the Eastern Regional Indoor Sports Arena. This will be followed by the award ceremony. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
When we return, the streets of the capital city gets a facelift. Stay with us. Member of Parliament for St. Joseph, Herbert Volney, is thanking Minister of Community Development, Winston Gypsy Peters, for the completion of the Quarry Drive Chamflair Community Centre in his constituency. Mr. Volney says he's grateful to those who have worked on the project and brought it to fruition. Noting how pleased he was with the works done on the community centre, MP Volney took the opportunity to congratulate the team for this achievement. He also sought to ask the Minister of Community Development for some additional treats, which will add to the beauty of the inside structure.
We want to get our chairs, we want to get some furniture, we want to get some tables, we want to get, if I could ask, even a little PA system, you know, so that when there are activities here, we could make maximum use. We want to know that you leave us with a fridge, we want to know that you leave us with a stove, we want to know that we can count on you for the support to make this a worthwhile venture.
MP Volney says it is not only the building alone that makes the venture a success, but it's the people who operate and use the facilities in it.
It's the people who operate it, the people who use it, and those with the wherewithal, the Ministry of Community Development, to provide the funding to help us, to make sure that our electricity bill is paid on time so that we can have the air condition, so that when the air condition needs servicing, that it can be serviced, and that sort of thing.
The MP says he's looking forward to future support and collaboration with the Ministry of Community Development. Minister of Community Development says Quarry Drive is a very small community that has done very well. He adds that the ministry is therefore very pleased to collaborate with such an active community and knows the investment of the community centre is a worthwhile one.
At the Ministry of Community Development, we see people at the centre of our work. And in a broader sense, it is the policy of this government to take a more personalised and people-centred approach to the service of our citizenry. And so, in that spirit, we have erected this facility to meet the needs of you, the residents.
The streets of Lower East Port of Spain have been repaired and repaved as part of an initiative by the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. The two ministers in that ministry, Senator the Honourable Emmanuel George and the Honourable Stacey Rupnerine, were present for the opening of the roads.
A program of work involving repair and construction of roads throughout the country saw 7 streets in Port of Spain repaired and repaved. The 7 streets include Duke Street from Charlotte Street to Nelson Street, Duncan Street from Independence Square to Prince Street, George Street from Independence Square to Duke Street, Nelson Street from Duke Street to Independence Square, Prince Street from Charlotte Street to Piccadilly Street, and 2 other short streets between Nelson and George Streets. The project cost just over $4 million. Addressing the crowd gathered for the official opening, Minister George praised the contractors for their speedy work. However, he says the roads must be used properly if they are to last long. He's calling on truck drivers to do their part in ensuring the roads aren't destroyed.
The roadways can only last if we use them as they're supposed to be used. And I speak here in particular about the extra heavy trucks that are traversing some of these roadways. We would like for the people who operate trucks to be conscious that they should try not to overload the trucks, because the overloaded trucks damages our roadways. We can pave as much as we want, but if the roads are destroyed within a year or two, it means that we are riding a treadmill. We have to go back and pave the same roads that we paved just a year or two before. And that means that we cannot pave as many as we can. And some people will not get their roads paved because you have to go back and do work that we had already done.
Minister George says extra heavy vehicles are stipulated to use particular routes and urges persons operating such vehicles to only use approved routes.
The Transport Board approves for extra heavy vehicles to use the roadways, and they stipulate the routes that you should use. And I would like for those persons who operate these extra heavy vehicles to operate them only on the roads that have been stipulated in the approval that you have got from the Trinidad Transport Board. That helps us to have the roads in good condition and helps us to save the money that can enable us to pave other roads in other needy communities.
Meanwhile, Minister in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, Stacey Roopnarine, says the ministry is working with the Water and Sewage Authority to ensure the roads are properly maintained and repaired.
The water lines are below the road. And so what we are seeking to do now is two things. One is that in the new highways that we are building, we are putting utility corridors. So you would see that as part of the extension of the Solomon Hochoy Highway to Point Fortin, we have catered for utility corridor. What this means is that you don't have to dig up the road when WASA has a leak. From time to time, we know that the infrastructure on the WASA network, the pipelines and so on, some of it is old infrastructure, and so these leaks will develop. The second thing that we are attempting to do is to come to a memorandum of understanding with WASA, whereby the Ministry of Works will partner with WASA whenever they have to do road works, so that the standard of repair is up to standard by the standards of the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
And that story brings us to the end of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Thank you for watching.